episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Mello Targaryen of Fairy, Mars Angel of Balmung, and Toki Onikawa of Sargentanus. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/limitbreakradio.
Hello, citizens. It is I, Yotsuyu Nayori, and I come before you to make amends for my previous actions. To that end, I intend to become a productive member of society. My first gift is a mass production of my skin cream that I produce personally to attain my perfect complexion. Enjoy!
Does daily adventuring leave you high and dry? Want to lay with another, but your skin is crusty? Got calluses on your hands, feet, thighs, and groin? Well, worry not your little head, for I have the product for you. Yotsuyu's Baby Soft Facial Cleanse. A daily dose of application of this miracle product will make your skin youthful again in mere weeks. Our unique formula has been perfected over many years and finally works on all races, even the coarse scales of Aura or the millions of tiny dicks filamented skin of Rogadin. No need to shriek, Yotsuyu will leave you sleek. Yotsuyu's Baby Soft Facial Cleanse, produced with real babies.
Live from Eorzea. Limit Break. With your hosts, Unhero. Now behold the horror you have wrought. Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Mika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode 146. Glad to have you along. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, starting at about 4 o'clock. A little late today. Starting at about 4 o'clock here at Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. LimitBreakRadio.com to subscribe to the podcast. Now, for those of you who go to our website regularly, I do want to apologize because we had a bit of a website outage.
After hackers.
Yes.
And after just years of it looking like garbage.
Well, I mean, you can blame it looking like garbage on me, but I do want to...
We're just trying to fix it.
I do want to let you guys know that, yes, we did have an intrusion, and somebody hacked the Limit Break Radio website.
Someone in a tracksuit.
Yes. But yeah, we don't know necessarily who's responsible for it. I think there's some suspects that are at large.
It was Garleans.
Look, we know that previously someone have tried to hack Pokemon Go to inspire racial tension. We do just fine inspiring racial tension ourselves. Thank you very much.
That's right. That was goddamn Lalafell. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. By the way, the LimitBreakRadio.com is back in operation.
Thank heaven.
Yes. Thank you. By the way, shout out and thank you to our host, DreamHost, who help us weed out all of the bad code and stuff in there. So
not every site host gives a shit. Or will help you.
It's and it's helpful. It definitely was helpful because I was in a little deeper than my, like I don't know that much about
limited expertise.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, I've only been running a podcast website for 11 years now. You'd think I'd learn something about this shit.
Sure, but that said, our setup for how we run our podcast website is pretty turnkey. It's
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty automated at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so if you were wondering about the outage, that should be resolved. But the thing is that if you're subscribed to the if you're subscribed to the Limit Break Radio podcast, there is no outage for you. It was unaffected because I update those by hand. So, that's the nice part about that.
Hooray for that.
Yeah. So one more reason that you should be subscribed to the Checkpoint Radio or to the Limit Break Radio podcast.
Wow, good job.
That's twice in a row. It's the fact that it was twice in a row. That's just another reason that you should be subscribed to the Limit Break Radio podcast. So you can find out more info over at limitbreakradio.com or just search, Limit Break Radio on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, whatever you subscribe to podcasts on. So
it's almost like you have to do that speech a lot on Checkpoint.
I kind of do, don't I?
You've got like 3 of them that I'm like you have to be able to just like rattle that off at a moment's notice.
It does. It sort of gets as automated.
Right. It's like when you work at a retail place and you know how you're supposed to answer the phone. Eventually, that's just automatic.
You don't think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Until you answer your phone at home that way and what?
I cannot tell you how many times I have, like, even years after I stopped working there.
After you stopped lurking?
It's worse because it's Laser Quest, too. After I stopped lurking at the local Laser Quest. But I would literally, my cell phone would go off, be like, thank you for calling Laser Quest. Oh, God. Hi.
Oh, yeah. Or
he sounds.
That's the problem. Is all you can follow that up with is hi.
Have you ever done it the other way around though too, where you're at work and you say something that like,
"Sup, bitches"?
No, never quite that. But like when I had a girlfriend, right? Like she always I always had to say I love you, or because if I
yes, you say I love you when you hang out.
Because if I didn't, she would assume that I was cheating on her.
And you stopped loving her.
Well, no, she just went like it was always the Destiny's Child song with her. Like, you better say I love you every time I talk to you. So it was like, I'd be at work and I'd be helping a customer and I'd be like, I love you, bye. Like, shit. Like, how do you recover from that? Like, I don't. I love your business.
No, you just gotta stick to it. No,
I love your money.
I've always wanted to tell you.
Stare at them like, you're gonna say it back. Am I the only one in this relationship anymore?
Jeez.
I've definitely done that.
All of us are guilty of, like, at the movie theater, they're like, enjoy your movie. You're like, you too. Oh, wait.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
right. You have to stay out here where there's not movies playing.
Yeah.
You get to clean up all of my popcorn and beer farts.
I will occasionally sell someone a board game, and I'll, instead of just saying goodbye, I'll say enjoy your game, and they'll go, oh, you too.
Do you ever want to point at them and laugh and just be like, "Ha ha, you're an idiot"?
But we all do it.
Because who does that? Like, no one on earth would do. Like, everyone does that, and I just feel like I would just want to be the asshole that would be like, "Ha ha, you fucked that social interaction up. Good job, dummy. Maybe you should just go jump off a bridge."
I have definitely had the moment where I'm just like, well, I'm not going to get to play it, but
because I'm basically playing.
I'm so glad that you are not a teacher. I can only imagine, like, how many times my kids call me mommy by accident? I can only imagine, like, you just be like, ha ha, not your mom, you idiot.
I'm not your mommy, you stupid moron. But that's the thing, though. I'm only playing the internal monologue that I have with myself in that moment, where I'm just walking away going, God, you're such a fucking idiot.
Oh my God.
And I would just, I don't know what I would do if the person that I did that to just, like, stopped everything and acknowledged how dumb I just was. Right? Like, how can you, like, I don't even know. I think it would destroy me psychologically.
I think I was like, I love you, and they're like, I mean, just speak to your manager now.
Literally,
I believe that's sexual harassment. Fuck.
I haven't ever had someone call me out on it, but I have had someone give me the look like they were calling me out on it. I ordered Grubhub into work, and as he was leaving, he said, "Enjoy your food," and I said, "Yep, you too." Shit, and he just like looked right back, like we made eye contact for a moment, and there was a look of like, I don't get to eat this, you fucking asshole.
See, I do the silent judging all the time because in retail, thanks for stopping in. You too, motherfucker.
But
it's because we're so conditioned for people to say "Have a nice day," and in that case, it's normal,
Yeah, it's
and you
fine.
have to say "You too."
Right.
So when somebody changes it up, I feel like they're the asshole for baiting you.
I don't know. I think I'm going to start doing that now, where every time like something like that happens, where
We're going to call them out.
yeah, where I'm just going to be like, "You fucked that simple social situation up, you dummy."
In other news, the suicide rate goes up a tick.
All because of a Nero calling people out for their
Well, he starts a trend. Someone's going to get on video. It's going to go viral, and then people are going to start doing it.
See, I'm going to start doing it, and then Donald Trump's going to start doing it because that just seems to be the trend. Yeah.
Ew.
I know, right?
Well, now it's not funny anymore.
I think the president listens to the show.
I hope so.
I feel like he's stealing my
Mr. President,
shtick.
Fuck you.
Stealing your shtick.
Like he hasn't been an asshole for years. By the way, if you want to join us in studio, we are on the Sergeant Tannis server in the Goblet. Why do I say that every time?
Oh, you fucked that one up.
Oh, you dummy. In the Goblet, 5th Ward, plot number 30. Come join us in studio so that we can feel better for having a house than you.
So that we... I haven't even been playing and I got that one. Damn.
Come in and, come in out of the rain, Eorzea. We understand that there's a significant portion of you that just simply, look, you can't afford houses. You weren't able to get plots because you're poor. We understand. We have an open plot here at Limit Break Radio. It's on the Sergeant Tannis server. Goblet, 5th Ward, plot number 30. You can come in out of the rain, you poors, and you can come and hang out in an actual good-looking, well-furnished house.
Whoa. Not all of that is accurate.
Did Fat finally get around to making it look decent in here?
No, absolutely.
No, okay, I didn't think so.
No.
I'm just saying, we don't use the studio except but once a week. You could hang out here throughout the week if you wanted.
If you wanted, yeah.
We're not going to kick you out.
Well, I mean...
We might make fun of you if you start role-playing.
That's right.
But we're not going to kick you out.
Yeah.
What would it take for us to kick someone out?
Of our link show?
No, out of our house.
Out of our house?
The thing is, you can't kick out a specific person, can you? You can just be like, it's closed off now.
I think you can ban specific people from your house.
I don't know.
I think you can.
I've never really looked into it because that's how little I care.
No,
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about this when that one person was trolling that performance group?
Oh, yeah.
I thought they added that feature in, didn't they?
I don't know. I didn't think they did.
I can't remember now.
I don't know.
It's almost like it didn't matter that much.
Because it doesn't.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Anyway. If you're salty about not getting a house, come hang out in ours.
Or call in and let us know why you're salty.
Also, yeah, definitely call in and let us know why you're salty or how salty you are.
That's right. You can give us a call here on Limit Break Radio. That's Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. I understand that there are some people who are a little bit butthurt about the fact that they don't have a house.
Really?
A little bit.
That's surprising.
You can't have a housing update and not have someone be butthurt.
Well, I understand that there are quite a bit more people who are butthurt about a great and amazing free company like Entropy that has been able to purchase entire wards for themselves because
they're wealthy
of their incredible greatness.
Right. Well, because having money makes you a good person.
It has nothing to do with money. They're just amazing Final Fantasy XIV players and impeccable people all around.
Excuse me. If I owned like entire neighborhoods in real life, I'd be fucking awesome. So if you can do it in game as well, that makes you fucking awesome.
I'm just saying that having lots of gil, being a great player, and being an all-around wonderful person are the exact same thing.
Well, and
That's all I'm saying.
They share correlation for sure.
Well, and I think I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Entropy on Twitter, but they've been doing an amazing job explaining the situation on how they could come to own an entire ward and exposing that for the problem that it is and not rubbing it in people's face. Oh no, wait, I take that back. They were rubbing people's noses in it and making them feel bad and calling them stupid because of it. And
oh, come on. I mean, I can sum everything up in 3 words. Mad 'cause bad.
Listen, I'd love to tell you that if I owned an entire ward, that I wouldn't rub it in everyone's face, but I absolutely would.
But I'm just saying, if you're that poor, then you don't get to have a voice in the conversation.
Okay, that's fair. Like, the people bitching probably don't even have the money to buy houses anyhow.
I mean, if we're going to be honest about this and not be sarcastic dickholes, yeah, kinda. I do agree with the fact that there's a lot of people who seem to be complaining about this who can't afford a house anyway.
Yeah.
So
maybe you're just complaining to complain.
I mean, that is, the nature of complaining. That's the internet, I think.
Nature of the internet. Yeah, that's fair.
Kinda.
Sad. Sorry, I was being like our president.
Very sad.
Poors can't afford houses. Sad.
Oh, well. Anyway, if you feel some kind of way about that, give us a call. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. If you're poor, please let us know that you're poor so that we can make accurate amount of fun of you on the show.
Accurate amount of funds.
Also, anyone who's poor, you will have to pay to come into the house. We're sorry.
Yeah.
We've decided to charge.
There's a yeah, right. Like, you got to buy tickets now.
They are income based.
Yeah.
To the
lower your income.
Show.
Ticketmaster is going to be handling all tickets to Limit Break Radio Live. So
we know how much you love online purchasing options.
That's right. So if you don't have $50 plus a $25 online processing fee,
absolutely,
right? Yeah. Then you're not going to be able to come to Limit Break Radio anymore. Sorry.
Just take a picture of your credit card, send it to me in a private message. I'll get everything taken care of for you.
Anyway. Get good at having money.
By the people who are so poor in real life.
We are so poor.
I mean, really, we are.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, so not just again, you can join us in studio if you want. Also, if you want to support the show, Limit Break Radio or Patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. For a show that gets accused of hawking their Patreon so goddamn much, I feel like I haven't talked about our Patreon in like, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks.
Was I here last time?
Probably.
Oh,
maybe.
Been a bit then.
Anyway, so the last series of postcards from Eorzea has concluded with your Escalia, your postcard.
The Escalia postcard.
No, with mine.
Oh, it's yours?
That's right.
The Kala one just went out. Yeah.
Oh, I thought Escalia's was the last one.
No.
Nope.
Mine was.
Apparently not.
Anyway, so if you're subscribed at $20 a month over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio, you too can get postcards from Eorzea, and I understand that we've got a new series that's getting ready to go.
We do. The theme is a summertime fun. And friend of the show, Nariko Star, who is also the one who did the lovely Escalia emote thing that pops up on screen whenever you donate, is the one doing them.
I have to wonder if we don't have to change that because of the new Twitch rules, because it's sexually suggestive.
Listen, all it's saying is that if you give us more money, we'll let you see more I say we keep it anyway.
Well, to be fair,
might be problematic.
Actually, I think we actually break multiple rules, because when the boobs explode, I think that counts as gore and violence.
My tits do explode if you give us enough money.
Yeah, they do.
Interestingly, if you want to see that, you should give us $100.
All right. So yeah, patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Help support this show, because
why would you?
Can you say just a little more? Actually, Nika, can you say that for us, like, convincingly?
Well, you should support the show because we're all super awesome, amazing, fun people who totally play this game all the time. So you should totally support us.
Without the sarcasm?
I was like, how about without the stutter at the beginning there? Jeez.
Or just don't lie, because that's
I'm
a
not
lie.
Lying. Nero was on yesterday. I saw him.
Yeah, I was.
We play this game.
Well, hey, don't use words like we.
If you want to hear more about our times in this game and the fun news that comes out of it.
Why don't I believe you at all?
Like this live letter that was full of so much information.
You are educating the youth of America.
Well, I mean, just the youth of, one part.
Can I go back
I guess.
Can I go back to doing my job now?
Yeah, go do your job.
Yes, apparently you do it the best. Damn it.
Let's check out what's going on in the news.
This is a limit-breaking news update.
So it seems Square-Enix have taken it upon themselves to get into the fanfic business, announcing the Be My Valentine creative writing contest. They're asking you to write a love letter to your favorite NPC from your character's perspective. Dog, how disgusting.
Oh, this is adorable.
No,
Why did I not hear about this?
Stop it.
All right, I'm writing one to Amric. It's happening.
You think so?
Oh,
It is
my
happening.
God.
You think this is adorable, huh?
Stop
Maybe.
it.
Okay, hold on. I have a contest for our own listeners.
Oh, God, no.
We would like you, those listening now, to go ahead and write a love letter from your character's perspective to Nika
No.
of Limit Break Radio. And you can send those
No, to
host
any host,
at
not just me.
limitbreakradio.com.
In
If we get
graphic
enough-
detail.
as graphic as you can get.
I would like
Imagine
to
you have been
expand that.
stalking her
Any
since
host.
the 6th grade.
Any host in character.
And if we get enough,
Not
we'll
just
read
me.
those on air.
Hosts at limitbreakradio.com is where you can send those.
All hosts.
This is pretty cringy.
This
What?
is super great.
The contest?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Has this been going on the entire time I've been gone,
No.
or is this?
I mean,
okay.
this is a newer thing. But here's the thing, though, is that
It's for Valentine's Day.
like if I was gonna do it, though, right? Like if I was thinking about entering this contest,
Yeah.
like I would totally like write a love letter to the guy who killed Hearts and Farts, or you know what I mean? Like
an
Are
ode
there
to a
different
murderer.
categories? Like, is there a humorous kind of category, or like, because that would be kind of funny.
Well, it's called Be My Valentine. I would assume romance is the category.
Maybe
Right, but humor romance, like
The important part is that all of the prizes are all of the prizes that the 3 people who enter these contests have already won twice over anyhow.
I sort of feel like you could
we need to change the prizes.
You could probably do a pretty good one to Garuda and her boobs.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Oh wait, what about
excellent
boobs from the quest line in the Void Arc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's all right.
She'd be a good one.
All right.
I'll write one to Yosheep.
You should write 2. You should write one to Yotsu pre-mind break and post-mind break.
Spoilers, she breaks her mind.
After she's had her womb crushed and before.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
Yeah. So, also, if you're one of the many listeners either in California or Germany, you are in for a treat. Square-Enix has announced a full concert orchestra in both locations dedicated to the music of Final Fantasy XIV. Yosheep, Soken, and our favorite vocalist, friend of the show, Susan Calloway, will all be in attendance. Check out the Lodestone for more information.
I want to go.
I really do want to go.
So bad.
I really do want to go. And apparently this is around E3.
Yeah.
Ooh. I know,
That doesn't
right?
help me.
Like
Well,
how
it helps us.
I know, but I mean, like, I just
How around
how
E3?
Can, yeah, like how can we figure out how to stay a couple of days longer?
Right after, right? A couple more days.
Oh, we only need a couple more days.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
a couple more days.
If we agreed to front the expenses.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe. Because I mean, it would just.
Me too.
Shut up, Nika. No one cares about you.
We'd have
I'm the only one
to.
that cares about this game. Damn it!
Shut up.
Bring me.
You don't care. Listen, we all care about the music equally.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. That's a very rare complaint that we have, that the music is terrible.
That is very fair.
I don't know that we've ever had that complaint.
I don't know. Stormblood had some kind of weak music in it.
That's fair.
Yeah, is that just from like a personal preference, or do you think even like just overall?
I think that's actually a pretty widely accepted
I think
thing.
it's weaker than Heaven's Words, but I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
There's a couple of zones where I'm like, like I actively think that it's bad.
Ah, all right. Well, that about wraps up the news for Final Fantasy XIV.
Yep, nothing else happening with FF14. Absolutely nothing.
Bye. Wrapping it up, guys. Show's over.
This job really sucks.
No,
Well, we
got.
did have a live letter.
Oh, we did.
That's a thing that happened that literally no one was talking about, even on Reddit. When I tried really hard to find discussion threads, there were 0.
Can you really call it alive? It's kind of dead.
A dead letter?
It's a dead letter, let's be honest. It's
Also what you send to Hearts and Farts.
How many people are going to write a dead letter to Hearts and Farts? Let's see it.
Listen, I don't even play this game. I'll happily write him a letter. I got plenty of things to say to him.
Can you write it as if your relationship was happening in his current decomposed state?
No, I'm going to write about my new love that I've found in his absence.
Oh.
How I've moved on from him.
Just make it just super serious and sad.
It's going to be like a therapy letter, like the kinds of letters you're not supposed to send. It's gonna be one of those.
If you enter this contest, you have to read your entry live on air.
Okay.
Oh, Nigerian Bucket is going to write a dead letter to this game.
Aww.
So that's a good call.
There we go.
Yeah, is the game? Yosheep is technically an NPC in this game. We've seen him a couple times in like the anniversary events. So
well, he's also technically the bard.
He's the wandering minstrel.
Yeah,
but,
the wandering minstrel.
But the character that we've seen in the anniversary events that actually breaks the fourth wall and is called Yosheep looks a little bit more like him. Yeah. So he's an NPC. We can write the game to the letter to him, right?
There you go.
Yes, technically you could. Yeah.
Yoshi, I've had some things to say to you, and now you are going to listen.
It's a love letter.
But love hate is a thing. Like there's a fine line between love and hate.
You got a damn pretty mouth, but your game is suck.
But your game is suck.
Yes, that's my entire letter.
You've got a damn pretty mouth.
Just for that, you should win the Scarf of Wondrous Wit, a Nero.
I like it. I think you should send that.
The live letter, they had a big Q&A section. There was like 30 some odd question or 40 some odd question. There wasn't, honestly, Nika says there's apparently stuff to talk about in there, but for
a couple of things.
Yeah, for the
I can't tell you how much I've missed these.
Not really. However, the info that is pertinent to us is that we finally got some Eureka stuff.
No, we didn't. Stop lying.
No, we did.
Stop lying.
Barely. It was like one question. I wouldn't even call it.
Well, but it was like 30 minutes worth of like talk in footage that
in answer to it.
But we're all waiting for the Eureka live letter, and I don't think that's happening.
I honestly don't think we're gonna get a Eureka live letter either. I think this is all we get till it comes out. This is it.
Sounds like it, yeah. Because it's coming out. It's coming out at the next 0.5 patch.
Well, as of now.
Well, is it?
Please
really?
do not underestimate Square-Enix's ability to fuck it up.
Wait, I heard in the chat that it's coming out in 5.0.
Stop it.
Stop. Okay, so again, line up your calls. Limit Break Radio, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We want to hear from you about what you think about the plans for the Eureka system. I've heard a lot of comparison that this is 11-esque. I think that, we're going to we'll definitely offer our own opinions on whether or not it lives up to that kind of comparison.
A bold claim.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yep. So we'll see.
All right, so let's get right into the top then here. So obviously they say that the Forbidden Land of Eureka is an unexplored, untamed wild where the very elements are constantly in flux. While exploring Eureka and growing in strength, players will have the opportunity to obtain and enhance Eureka gear and weapons. Now, they say that strengthening said gear and weapons isn't required to keep exploring, and this is essentially a new zone. I think you still queue up for it, but 145 people can occupy the instance, and you can band together with other people. You can form parties, blah, blah, stuff like that. You can also play solo.
Boy, that sounds a little bit like Diadem.
No, but in Diadem, you couldn't disband and reform a party with random people, right? It was like the people you were already with.
Well, yes, but still, it is an awfully lot like Diadem because everyone's still inhabiting just the same one area. There's also apparently a 3-hour limit on the instance.
It sounds kind of like Dynamis, actually.
Oh, all right. Actually, yeah, I guess it would be a little bit more.
Yeah, but you couldn't really do Dynamis solo until recently.
That said, we did call Diadem Skynamis, so
we did. So it isn't
exactly.
So here's the problem.
But those core functions right there are core functions that were taken right out of
Dynamis.
Yeah. Or Diadem.
Out of Diadem.
Yeah. So it's kind of going to depend on what we're doing when we get up. get up there and get out there.
Right, because it's easy to say that, oh, we are a large group going into a zone with a time limit. Oh, that's just Diadem. Well, that's a lot of events. Like, that could be any number of things.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be important to determine what we do once we're inside.
Right.
Now, did you guys watch the video, or I put in the chat there, the clip of Yosheep walking around the Eureka base?
I'm actually going to pull this up on stream right now.
I'm watching it right now.
Now, I will say that one of the things that I thought was kind of cool, I'm not necessarily a big fan of who they picked, but that we will see familiar NPCs in Eureka as well, exploring around. Specifically, they name Geralt and Kryl, which
you see both of them in the video too.
Yes, yep. And I guess Kryl makes sense if she's expert on magical elemental sort of things.
And Geralt is, no surprise, the one who enhances your weapons.
Oh, I know. And I think this is a view that I believe it was a Nero first shared when we found out that Geralt was the one who was helping us with the second relic weapon back in Heaven's Ward. And it's like, did we not finish his dream of making the best weapon, and now he's coming back again? Like, why not find somebody else or introduce a new character to maybe explore and create some more mythology behind it, right? Wasn't that you and Nero?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, is that, I mean, if Geralt is going to be the designated NPC that's going to help us every single time with, upgrading weapons, it just seems, I don't know, like, it seems a little bit
he's not the only
repetitive.
Blacksmith in the world. Like,
right, exactly.
Yes, there's that. And plus, I feel like if that's something that they're going to do, maybe, because to me, Geralt's kind of like a joke character. Like, he's just the drunk blacksmith that we never really learn a whole lot about. And if you're going to take three...
Well, he has a complicated history with Rowena. We do know that much.
Okay, but that's the thing. Like, I feel like I'd want them to build them up a little bit more and not feel like just the throwaway blacksmith character. I've never had any affinity for Geralt before. Like, he had us make a fucking kettle. Get the fuck out.
Right.
Hey, that kettle is awesome.
It better be, for all the work we did for it.
It is. You can get glowing kettle monk weapons. It's the
I didn't.
So at the end of the video, we see Geralt, we see Kryl, but at the end of the video, we also see them approach a vendor, and you're able to buy things.
What's the vendor's name?
Well, I don't something in Moonspeak. I don't fucking know. But the thing is, though, is that this was one of the things that we had talked about that should have been a core part of Diadem, was having, more of a, because like in Diadem, you were just sort of dumped into the zone.
You didn't have a town like this.
Right. I think there were even NPCs somewhere, but we were
there was like a small, maybe.
There were? I never found any.
Well, but they weren't, I don't think that they were necessary for doing any of the things in Diadem. Maybe if you were a gatherer, they were. I don't know, though.
Yeah, you had the group of people who sat up on the big rock, and you could trade in your spoils at the end too.
Yeah.
And that was the group, right?
No,
was that in the zone?
Yeah,
inside the zone. Okay,
it was. Yeah.
All the stuff you could do with those NPCs, they were also available outside of Diadem. So had you removed that entire rock, you're losing nothing.
Right. Well, I gotta wonder if because they do say that NMs are going to be a core part of the system. If maybe we're going to see pop items that are going to come out of these shops.
Well, the way that it said it, though, is that you can fight NMs the same way you fight fate monsters, where everyone can attack and it doesn't matter who attacks first.
Well,
so that to me does not sound like you have to get a pop item, or you have to claim it first or anything.
But remember, there were spawn conditions and pop conditions that were a part of Diadem. So, they could very easily do something like that. They could very easily co-opt a system like that, and still have it so that everyone is able to attack, or that it force pops a fate. Right.
Yeah. Literally spawning a fate.
What I took from them saying that was that it's sort of like a love child between what we come to expect of FF14 and their fates, where you can show up at any point and still get as much credit as anybody else, so there's no butthurt. But they're also taking certain cues from 11, such as NM spawning under very specific conditions, whether or not that's an actual pop item, or you have to kill a certain amount of lizards in X amount of time on Wednesday at nighttime.
Well, and also in that video, and I just took it down, but also in that video we saw the elemental wheel.
Yes,
that is going to be playing a part in Eureka. So, do we want to keep talking about some of these features that they talked about
on that video real quick though?
Yeah.
One thing I do notice, and this may just be because I'm thinking of it because of all the comparisons that have been made, that architecture doesn't look distinctly Eorzean to me. It looks more Vana'diel-esque.
I mean,
is everything just like built into the walls and stuff?
Well, it looked like it was something that had been destroyed and sort of reused.
It makes me feel like Tavnazian almost.
Okay, I could see that, but also in the same way that Tavnazia was a city that was built, destroyed, and then out of that rubble they had to kind of rebuild.
Yeah, that was a stronghold of Tavnazia.
Right.
It wasn't the actual town.
Yeah, the safehold. Right.
Town.
Well, not just that, but it was very much a settlement that incorporated natural structures into it, and it looked like there was, like a tree or something. There was growth that was over whatever structure was there.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I thought like Mora, kind of.
Mara
or Salbina.
Okay, yeah, and actually
the building's built into the rocks.
Of a complaint that I had for this being this forbidden land, untamed wilds, elements constantly in flux. It looked boring.
Well, they actually a later comment in the Q&A said that in the video it looked very sunny for purposes of showing it to you. However, most of the times that we go there, it will look really, really bad because the elements are all out of whack.
Even just like a scholar just said, it looked like Mahara, which was just like sand and rock. I mean, changing the weather isn't necessarily going to.
No, but think about it though. This is if you look at the buildings, they're literally just like someone cut down a tree and made a building out of the wall. Like it's not supposed to be like a big building because this is a place we're just entering. We're using what little resources are there to build a town.
When you look, based on what I've seen there and based on other locations in Final Fantasy XIV, you know what would have been a great Eureka? The churning mists. The sea of clouds, like big, fantastic, crazy looking things like that.
Except if you do those places, people will literally scream diadem.
Well, yeah, at this point now, obviously.
Well, also, we only saw this little stronghold. We didn't see what it actually looks like going out and fighting things. It might look crazier.
Right. Well, I mean, let's get a look at the map here, because this is another one of the clips that they had showed off. Was taking a look at the map, and we do see that yes, there is a sort of a designated stronghold, but there is a lot of open space to go out and adventure in. It is very unlike Diadem that had these broken up islands, and this looks like there's a bit more natural level progression.
Yeah, and of course they did also say that this is going to be one of those systems that as we go forward they will expand upon and add more. Whether or not that means more areas or not, I suppose is
something also I think that's worth noting is that I see 3 Aetherites on that map.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah. And Blue Cloud in the chat's all saying no mounts allowed, which is interesting.
That's right.
They said you can't mount up until you finish exploring, is what it said in the.
It's probably going to be something that you have to unlock every time you go in there.
Yeah, that could well be.
Like Diadem.
They also mentioned.
Jesus Christ, people.
They mentioned too that enemies here will chase you a lot longer than they do in other zones.
That is also
distinctly 11-esque.
Yeah, well, they're trying to add that sense of danger. I mean, no matter who
this game doesn't have at all. So.
Yes, no matter who you are and what you think of how difficult content should or shouldn't be, or how inclusive it should or shouldn't be. I think that one thing is probably fair amongst most people is that you do want to feel a sense of danger when you go.
I want to aggro a mob and actually scream, "Oh shit!" Like, I mean, I was actually thinking about that today when I was doing hunts and stuff. There was like the antlions underground, but I knew where it was because I could see its name. And I was like, but it's under. I was like, but thinking back to 11, when you stepped on the antlion underground, you were fucked. And like,
it came up,
stunned you, and then you died. I can just run around it. Woo! I don't care. Like, and I was actually thinking that today, that I wish that I could just run over that and not realize it's there.
Do you remember coming across an area, having to come to a complete stop, wait for a mob to move, and then sneak by?
Yeah.
I remember doing that.
What I do think is really cool, and what I'm looking forward to, and something that I miss about Final Fantasy XI, is that it does seem with this map that there are some very specific areas of the map that are going to be used for boss encounters, right?
Pulling an enemy into here to fight it.
Yep. Here, I'll even pause on it when it hits at this time. As you see when they go around now up here, right? In the upper left, or as you go farther west on this map, there's this kind of like offshoot circle arena over here.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Square-Enix, can you really not do? Come on.
Damn it.
Come on. Now. Hopefully,
to be fair, like Dragon's area was a big circle.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Listen, I just hope that this is not the only place that a boss encounter can happen, because then that is really creatively bankrupt.
Oh,
totally creatively bankrupt.
That would be absolutely infuriating.
I hope there's no boss there and it's just like gathering points.
Oh, please let people spend like years there trying to figure out how to pop the boss that never spawns.
But here's the thing, though, is that I do think that it could be kind of cool to, I mean, outside of that one circle portion of the map, that, you know, having to fight bosses in other areas of the map and having to deal with natural aggro while doing bosses and not, you know, purposefully timed ads and stuff like that. Yeah,
well, you're going to run back to that spot even if you run out of range.
Yes, and that was always, I think, one of the more fun parts about Final Fantasy XI. Something that they tried to kind of bring back with Diadem, but in a really dumb way.
The return of the ad party.
You would have two full alliances, and one alliance would be on the boss, and one alliance would just be killing the ads.
That was it.
That was what you'd have to do.
144 people in the zone should be doable to have that as a requirement.
You would think, yeah. You would think. Now, I have to wonder how often they would want, you know, 100+ people working together on something. You think?
And also, how much can you do solo in here, really? Like,
I have no idea.
Probably very little.
I mean,
I would imagine
say you can play solo in here.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a difference also between being able to play solo and being able to like do things competently.
No, I mean, let's think back to the days of, and I know that people are going to cringe and groan, but let's think back to the days of Abyssia in FF11.
You could technically do a lot of it solo.
Well, not just that, but before you were going to do Abyssia seriously with a link shell, there was some groundwork that you had to do on your own. There was Magicite that you had to go get. I think that was the key item.
Teleport things, right?
Get all of the teleport points.
Unlock it with your crewer.
Now, I could be wrong here, but maybe going in solo, the point is to get your teleportation points and unlock most of the map.
Stuff.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Unlock mounts.
Well, I mean, the other thing to keep in mind, too, is because it is Square-Enix and everyone has to be able to progress at their own pace and do things their own way, you could, go in there, just explore yourself. And since the NMs or the, these big boss monsters are treated just like they are fates or hunts, is essentially what I think they're going to end up being.
Oh, you could just wait for someone to call something out.
And then just run to it and get your links
join a party
before it dies, or join a party at the same time.
Maybe that's what it literally means. Solo is in you can go by yourself and then just assist people who are already there.
Well, your attribution is going to be garbage. It's going to be like going to one of the big like Odin or Behemoth fates and going solo.
But you can always join. Like it says, you can join and disband parties at will in here, so you can honestly wait around, and then if anyone needs help, just jump in their party.
OMW, please INV.
Yeah,
but
it could end up being like a little bit huntish.
Exactly, but one of the things that I'm hoping for is that there is going to be, I think, an inherent benefit in grouping up with people, because Anira, you alluded to it. Well, no, not the increased drop rates, but he alluded to the elemental wheel that we saw sort of a little briefly in that first video that we showed on the stream. But the elemental wheel, I think that's the Magia board in the Magicite. But essentially, you get to, as you earn elemental experience, you get to allocate them onto this elemental board, which has the 5 elements. And if you put them, you can put them into attack or into defense. So let's say fire, for example. You would do more damage to something that's weak to fire if you have it into your attack. So basically, they're introducing the idea of elemental weaknesses and defenses into Eureka specifically. And Yosheep said that based on what you're fighting, you're going to want to reallocate those to give yourself an edge. So if you're running around solo, and I don't know if you can change these mid-fight or not, he was at a little like apparatus where he was.
Yeah, we've actually got that clip going right now.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're out there by yourself and you take aggro from some of these monsters that are going to chase you for a long time, you're actually going to be, it's going to benefit you to be with other people to where you can either have a range of different elemental strengths and weaknesses, or just at least have more than just yourself when it comes to fighting some of these things. So I absolutely think that it in a sense, whether it was intentional or not, encourages you to team up for this.
Well, I have to wonder how much of your progress is going to be carried over from one session to another. Because if you're going in and you've got to unlock those aetherites every time, then it really does no good for you to go in solo, right? Like if you can go in and unlock the aetherites and those aetherite points stay active, sort of like how
you're talking about Abyssia,
how it did in Abyssia.
As long as you have the crew to expend,
then there is actually a little bit of function behind you going in solo.
You can also go in and farm your pop items. Solo.
True. Well, but I think actually that this actually lends some credence into organizing a group outside and going in with a plan in place, because if it takes organization to pop some of the more complex NMs later down the line, that granted everyone in the zone is going to want to fight, and you're probably they're probably going to be tough, so you're going to want help fighting them.
Another point they said too, actually, on the point of grouping up and not grouping up, the more players you have in your group, it says the more that XP you earn will actually decrease, but the larger the group, you can get chain bonuses as well.
That's the age-old 11 conundrum. Do we fight easier stuff with more people that I can EXP chain, or do I fight harder stuff with less people for more experience?
Well, or ostensibly better loot.
Exactly. Where's the balance point?
Right.
Well, okay, I'll admit it. There are some 11S qualities to this, definitely.
Yeah. I will say
because,
that it is.
We all just want this game to be 11, right?
Right. Exactly.
Oh, it'd solve a few things.
I just wanted it to be better.
Here's the thing. I'm kind of encouraged by this. Like, this is...
Is that optimism I hear?
A little bit, yes.
For the first time
I'm much more interested in this than I have been anything else that Stormblood has put forward.
Nate, here you go.
That is fair. But what's really tough for me, even because I sort of almost feel your optimism, then there's a part of me, the cynic in me, that's like, why? Why even get optimistic about this? Because when the next patch comes out, it's all irrelevant anyway.
But they're going to keep adding to this, so I don't know. I'm assuming that you won't be able to do the next part until you get the previous gear.
Why would you assume that?
Because I would assume as eye level goes up, it gets harder.
But Yosheep wants it so that if you took a few months break, you can come and get caught up really quick.
I think you'd have to get caught up with Tome and shit. But if you've been keeping up with, same thing with like Pals of the Dead. If you had taken your weapon out and gone down to 0, the second half of it would be really fucking difficult until you built it back up. So I'm assuming that if
maybe
built up a lot of strength and stuff within, I almost called it Diadem, within Eureka, then I think you'll be stronger going forward.
It's hard for me to share a Nero's optimism, and that scares me. The fact that a Nero is optimistic about something and I'm not, it's unsettling. But I'm going to remain, I think, cautiously cynical about it.
Cautiously cynical.
Well, I think
that should be a podcast name.
But I think like Chuckles is actually bringing up a good point that, we thought Diadem would get updated, and it did. It got updated to Diadem 2.0, but that wasn't really anything that anyone wanted. It was almost like an overhaul of the system.
Right.
I think
even with something that we enjoyed, Palace of the Dead, that hasn't seen an update yet either.
Hang on. But
Palace of the Dead got expanded, though. Like, it got more floors, it got more loot and drops and things like that. And I think that the original concept behind Diadem was supposed to be something like that. Like, that they add more zones and more explorations. But the thing is that it sucks so bad and everybody hated it that never happened.
Exactly. People actually liked Palace of the Dead. So they're like, oh, cool, we'll expand on this. Diadem was such a flop. They're like, never mind.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to rehaul it instead of, like, I think the actual thing was supposed to be, okay, 2 more patches from now, we introduce another zone that's similar to this one, but with harder monsters and higher eye level drops and yada yada. But they never got to that point because it was such a bad system.
Well, okay, and I think it was also hamstrung. I mean, Diadem specifically, I think was hamstrung by a bad map design too, because there was only so much that you could do with it. And I mean, granted, I would have loved to see the inside zone that they had designed, but I don't think anyone had bothered to explore the system that deeply, and it just, I don't know. It was in total underwhelming. This, I think, they've obviously taken a lot more time with it. They've taken some elements of Diadem that worked, or that people didn't at least completely outwardly reject, and they've taken some lessons that they've learned from Palace of the Dead and applied them here. What's really, I think, what's going to make the biggest amount of difference is getting our hands on it. I mean, obviously it's a very complex system, and I think my complaint is that why couldn't we figure out something fun like this to do with the overworld? All of these features are things that used to be intrinsic about the overworld experience of MMOs, and now it just seems like they've gone and created an entire zone that plays by different rules, and those rules are more fun. And I wonder how much I'm going to be able to get out of this one event until it starts to feel like everything else, where it's like, okay, let's rinse and repeat.
Right. Dynamis was, at the end of the day, something a little bit different, but it still functioned on the game's core rules. There was just now a time limit, and you can only do it every so often. This, you kind of hit the nail on the head. This seems more fun than what the actual game is.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
It's like if Triple Triad was more fun than FF8. People would just play Triple Triad.
I mean, that's kind of...
Shut your damn mouth.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. Now, as far as the rewards go, the little that I've read and the little that I've seen, this does pique my curiosity. There's going to be both gear and weapons, and it mentions that when exploring, you obtain protean crystals, and this is this is what you use to obtain and enhance your gear and weapons, which is obviously through the aid of...
So it's Crew.
Yes, we get it. It's Crew, Nika.
Literally.
This is kind of a weird statement. It says we're planning to change the play style as we introduce later versions of Eureka. And I know that's kind of difficult for us to obviously comment on, being that we don't necessarily know what the play style is, but still, changing the playstyle as they introduce later versions of Eureka.
What does that even mean?
Make of that?
I think it is a poorly translated way of saying that Eureka will change, right? Like,
okay,
the ultimate objective that you're going to be going into Eureka with on this patch, it will not always remain the ultimate objective, and that I think that they're going to be adding, hopefully, I say this as, being as optimistic about this event as I can be, and hoping that Square-Enix has learned from some of their failures in the past. Hopefully what they're going to be doing is they're going to be adding new things, and those new things are going to be where the new gear comes from.
So what you're positing is that we might actually see some change in this game since 2.0.
Well, what I don't want, and I think what people are concerned about, is that we get Eureka, and then next patch, all the Eureka gear gets outclassed, and then in a 0.5 patch after that, the Eureka gear gets updated to be current, but none of the objectives get updated. Because isn't that one of the things that happened with Diadem the first go round, is that they were like, oh, we're going to bump up the eye level, but we're not going to change anything that's going on in there, and then they put out Diadem 2. Or am I wrong about that? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds about right.
It was something like that. So I think what they should do, instead of having people just repeating the same objectives if they go up there for new rewards, that there should be new objectives that output new rewards. And if they're smart, they're going to know that they'll know to do that. If the other option is that the gear will remain static, like they won't put in new rewards, but they'll put in new objectives to upgrade your pieces further. That's the other option.
Well, and it does mention, too, that the gear that we're going to be able to get is AF3 job-specific equipment, weapons with special effects, and gear that are dyeable as a reward.
Now, this is smart. This is smart. This is
special effects as in glows, or special effects as in like extra traits on top.
Glows. Glows. Yeah.
I thought they were going to be a special.
Square Enix has seemed to put the kibosh on the idea that we're going to be getting extra abilities with
yes,
items or armor. I don't think we're going to ever see that.
No, but they do have pictures of Red Mage AF3 dyed both blue and yellow, which I feel like the blue is kind of a slap in the face to blue mages, but it does it. It looks cool, actually. It's a pretty awesome.
And that's a big step. Like, I've heard nothing but, wow, this gear looks like ass since I left. Every patch, every new gear set that comes out, people are mad about it.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. If it's going to be the same thing, at least have it be something that, we like and it's cool, and giving us another bit of AF is...
I hear you can get the Scorpion harness.
We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, we've got a screenshot there. And the thing is, I also keep hearing that people are complaining about the fact that so much of Stormblood's gear has just been either reskin or dyeable versions of gear that's appeared in the past. And that people are getting very frustrated with it.
That blue red mage gear looks pretty sick.
But I mean, before though, they've let you dye the artifact armor when we had to gather all those augmented materials and bring them to someone in Mordona. Like, I have dyeable paladin gear.
But correct me if I'm wrong. In Heaven's Word, there was AF that was just purchasable through tomes, and it was just like, why the fuck am I bothered?
That was it.
Yes,
that was bad. That was a bad decision. This is way better. This is smart.
Yeah, it was the first set of gear after completing story, right? Was your first tome set effectively? Yeah, it was AF, and it was worthless almost immediately because you had shit like Void Art come out 4-1 or 3-1.
Right.
I mean, that's still how it is right now. Like the current job gear you get upon completing your level 70 quest, and it looks really cool. But then you instantly get something from a dungeon.
But it's not dyeable though. So I think that these are going to be.
I wonder if we can upgrade on that gear. If this is a total separate.
This seems like dyeable versions of the gear that we got
in the little chest from the quest.
Yes,
that little coffer that you had to pop.
Which I think that's really smart, because one of the things that we've identified about Final Fantasy XIV, and really every Final Fantasy game, is the attachment to those defining jobs, right?
Yes.
Like my attachment to Dark Knight is obvious, and I mean, like last night I was dicking around with the glamour chest or whatever
commode
it is.
Thing,
whatever it is, and there were. The chaos gear and the abyss gear. I forgot that those looked so cool, and I was actually kind of messing around with those in Glamour yesterday, and I was actually thinking about it, like, man, it would like this abyss stuff would be cool if I could dye it, and now we know where it's going to be coming from. This kind of makes me want to go in and try to get that gear out.
Get the dyeable glamour gear. Yeah. I mean, the job armor always looks pretty cool, right? Like, everyone likes that classic Final Fantasy look.
I mean, it's especially because we always complain that all the tanks, all the casters, all the healers look the same.
Exactly.
The job gear is important to feel like your job.
Exactly. It's unique. You feel like you're playing like Dragoon is. That armor is iconic.
Oh, the current Dragoon gear looks so cool too. The level 70 gear.
It was the one thing I loved about Dragoon in this expansion. Anyway, but yeah, no. So this armor is, the iconic look that everyone kind of wants when they pick their job. When you are sat down at the beginning of the game and you get to look through all your different jobs that you get to play from, in your head you have that little 8-bit sprite, and that's what you want to be. And so it's pretty cool when you get an option like this, and you can finally use that armor, dye it however you want, and keep going. And Cold Ass Honky is trying to trigger me in the chat with calling me a spearman instead. So
you
always call me a lancer, dude.
It's called a lancer. Yeah,
lancer.
I like spearman. I like spearman. They also said that they've received various requests to remove roll restrictions from certain gear, and that's where they show the scorpion harness. And I think there was also a picture somewhere that I saw of, was it the warrior AF from Final Fantasy XI?
Oh, really? I heard about the Strider boots being.
Yeah, someone said the Scorpion Harness guy's actually wearing the Strider boots too.
Is he really? I didn't notice that.
If you can zoom out on the picture, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, but just when you look at that, like the Scorp harness is iconic. You immediately know that one when you see it. I didn't notice the Strider boots.
If that wasn't a male Makote, I had to just been like, "That's an FF11 screenshot." You
know, it actually took me a second to realize that too, that it was a 14 screenshot.
Definitely, no. There was absolutely that moment of like, "Wow, they upscaled 11 to look great." Oh. Wait.
They also this is actually interesting too. The reason they put down a reasoning here on why Eureka was pushed back, and they said that we initially pushed back the release to 4.25 so it can be played once everyone has nearly completed gathering their token gear and defeated the raid. So basically, they wanted everyone to be on the same playing field, I guess, when going into Eureka and not have anything else to focus on.
So they wanted to drop it at a time when no one was focused on. How many people do they think are not going to be focused on rating at all?
Or maybe this kind of says to me like, yeah, we wanted to put this out when people were going to be at the point where they're not doing our content anymore and not playing anymore.
Yeah, that I would buy a lot more than that first explanation. I mean, yeah, it's that point in time where everyone stops playing because we did the story mode and we don't raid. So what's left?
I think they've convinced themselves it's because they want to be fair to everyone, but we all know that's not the real reason.
Well, I mean, listen, of course, they can't come out and say that. They can't say, like, well, no one else will be playing the game right now. So
see, I think that they've actually convinced themselves that that's what they believe also.
You think so?
They're fooling themselves. Yeah.
You think they're just fooling themselves?
I think they're that far gone. I really do.
Oh my God. Well, you heard it here first, folks, from Nika herself.
They also... one of the things that I was concerned about was the NMs that we'd be fighting. That they would be like even the NMs in FF11, which is basically just, all right, let's take a normal monster, blow it up to like 3-4 times the size, maybe give it a different color, and then give it a cool name like Bubbly Bernie. Did you guys see the picture?
Yeah, the picture's so cool. It looks like a primal.
Shit.
Let me ask you something, though. As dumb as that was, admittedly, when you saw that giant ass crab, did your heart almost come out of your chest?
Oh, absolutely.
It scared the shit out of you.
We're talking about this bird.
But I think this will do the same thing depending on the spawn conditions. Like if we're sitting there killing fucking crabs and then all of a sudden this guy pops out at you, the same thing would happen.
That's true. Your heart would stop.
Well, I mean, this looks way cooler than even a lot of the hunts. I mean, they've started to put in some decent hunt models now, but in most cases it's still the same thing. It's just that, monsters that have been slightly changed. But it should be up on stream now. That thing might be one of the coolest models that I've seen in the game so far.
I'm assuming, we don't know much about the lore of how Eureka ties into this game, but I'm assuming that this is not a primal. So this exists, a guy this big exists in another capacity.
Do you think that they'll go so far, or that we'll get so lucky as to actually have lore tied into Eureka?
Better? Are you kidding?
Oh, we have to, I think. Here's the thing is that, yes, I do think that this is a great character model.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And I think that that's sort of what's needed to set it apart. Like, you need, because that was one of the things that was so, I think, disappointing about Diadem, was going up and fighting dinosaurs.
I was going to say
monsters.
I thought it was kind of cool because we had never seen dinosaurs anywhere else. So then all of a sudden, when a big giant ass Apatosaurus comes out of nowhere,
I think it was, but it was only cool.
It was kind of cool.
It was only cool in how big it was, and then you're just like, oh,
yeah. Think about it. The way that it's interpreted into lore, not as a game that we're doing, but people are basically like, hey, Nika Hayanian, famous world adventurer, you want to go up into the sky and kill shit?
And we're talking about Square-Enix. This is a company that takes normal designs for things and then is like, let's make it crazy, right? Like that. Like, you ever see the play arts, stuff that they do?
Oh, so good.
Or like there's like some like the mech design that they do is so like
Square-Enix's solution to making things crazy is add more belts and zippers
and spikes.
lots of spikes. So it felt like, oh, a brachiosaur, great. You know, like it was definitely underwhelming. This is ornate, complicated. It feels like it feels like you're fighting something that, you know, it may not be a primal. It.
I'm just hoping there is lore behind it, and that it isn't just like, okay, here's a special zone, go kill all these things, and that it's completely separated from the world. Especially because they said Geralt and Kral are there. Like, you need to find out why familiar NPCs are what they're doing there. Like, to me, that sounds like there's a reason why NPCs who are a part of the story would care to be there. So, like, there needs to be a lore tie-in.
That I'll tell you one thing that enemy makes me feel that no enemy in Diadem ever made me feel. Oh, that thing can probably one-shot me.
Yeah.
I believe that thing can one-shot me.
Fair.
And I didn't believe that about any of the enemies that I fought in Diadem even once.
This optimism is scaring me, guys.
Yeah, I'll say.
I know.
It's almost like cautiously cynical. It is still Final Fantasy 14.
It's almost like when they finally reveal something that we wanted for a while, we kind of smile a bit at it. Also, you lose XP when you die. So what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, it's XP internal to the system,
right? So, elemental,
right? But I mean, if you spent so long building it up and then you just lose it in one fell swoop, then I mean, I hope that you feel that sense of fuck. I de-leveled and it took me an hour to get there. Like, that feeling needs to be.
I mean, I would think that your progress needs to carry over between sessions. Then, like, you don't
feel that.
Yeah, like you don't. I don't think you would.
Right.
Either that, or you're able to save your progress, a la Palace of the Dead.
Yeah, I because you're right. If everything resets back to 0 every time you enter, well, losing XP when you die, that's not such a big deal. Then, what made it a big deal in 11, not only, like, again, using Dynamis as your example, you couldn't get XP in there,
right?
So you could de-level,
your whole entire team just laughs at you and kicks you out of the party and lets you follow along.
Yeah. So I mean, I think to your point about enemy difficulty, here we see Yosheep running through and aggroing a couple of mobs, and I mean, they're hitting fairly hard. I mean, they're hitting for 53,000. I mean,
see, those are just regular wolf mobs, though. There's nothing special about that.
Well,
but look at the damage. But look at the damage that they're throwing up, though.
Yeah, they are hitting him fairly hard, and he can't just run 10 steps.
He's in God. Remember, he's in God mode.
That's true.
Oh, right, yeah.
But look at the numbers.
Look at the value. Yeah, he's only got
hit hard.
He's got 27,000 HP, and each time one of these things is hitting him, 66,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Ow.
Wait. Oh my! We actually have a real end game. No, stop! No, this is gonna be a bad
optimism.
It's gonna break our hearts and be bad.
I mean, that's something that we have asked for since at least a Heaven's Word.
Danger zone.
Making traveling through the zone meaningful and dangerous.
Yeah, make it scary. I want to be afraid to die.
That was the coolest part of Diadem, was like the first 20 minutes where you're on.
Hi, it's Yosheep here. This is payment for the enthusiasm. Please look forward to more bits of the repeat enthusiasm. Kappa.
Thanks, Thor.
If we repeat our enthusiasm, we can have more bits.
I think we're going to be okay under the Twitch guidelines because that thing of Callie shows no skin.
Well, that was only 1,500 bits.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, only $15.
But you know, in Diadem, the first 20 minutes you have to unlock flight, and you actually do have to deal with aggro, and people would actually sack pull and things like that to let people by. Like, that was the coolest part because there was actually danger, and then you get flight and nothing matters anymore.
Yeah, exactly. The best part of Diadem run was the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, if they're restricting mount access, it seems like, you know, they're probably also going to be restricting flying. There may not even be flying. We don't even know.
There might not be. They just said you can't mount up until exploration's complete, is what they said.
And
it might be no flying.
Does that mean? I mean,
zone strikes me as no flying.
I wonder if that means that you have to uncover 100% of the map. If that's what it means by exploration is complete. That's a lot.
Also keep in mind that because we have seen them borrow a few concepts from Diadem, and Diadem was an quote-unquote exploration. So if they have some type of objectives built into that, it could be like in Diadem we have to do certain objectives before travel can be unlocked.
That is also possible. But again, I wonder if it's, like I've got to wonder if you do this once, right? Like if you go through the effort of let's play this out hypothetically. Let's say you have to uncover 100% of the map. You got to get that achievement before it unlocks mounting. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's say that, if it carries over your progress from one session to another, it may take you 2, maybe 3 sessions to unlock the entirety of that map. You know what I mean? Like that actually seems.
The case, I really hope that flying isn't allowed, because then after you do that, then it just negates everything already. See, I'd actually be okay with like in Diadem, where every time you came in, you had to fulfill certain types of objectives before you were granted access to either flying or mounting.
I don't know, because it seems like, if you do that groundwork, that, let's say you're a part of a dedicated link shell that does this event regularly, right? Mm-hmm. And, you want to lay that groundwork so that every time you come in, you can go straight to work and you don't have to, waste a whole bunch of, 15, 20 minutes unlocking shit.
That is true, but then it also discounts the idea that, well, what about new people coming in? They're going to feel left out because no one want to help them uncover the map, and that goes against how Square-Enix has been operating recently.
But I think if the reasonable expectation under that situation is that all of that material can be done solo,
fair,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a fair way to balance that, and then
I also do feel like though there should be some benefit in going in with like a party already established, like a free company, so that way they can help new players. But again, it just feels like you can go in and group up with any random people, still waiting for content that they want you to.
Yeah, but then it's like okay, if something pops all the way across the map and I can't fast travel there, or I don't have a good method of getting there, you know what I mean? Like, then it's sort of it's remember back in
2-person mounts. Well, it'll let you like mount up someone who doesn't have their own mount yet.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I know that works in like Stormblood, because I know that people wanted to get to a hunt like up on top of a thing. They couldn't get there because they didn't have mounts yet. So I just put them on my 2-person mount and flew them up.
Well, maybe, you know what? Actually, Morgan Freeman in the chat brings up a good point. Maybe that's a reason to have a gatherer class leveled so that you can stealth your way through to the points. Unlock the map.
Granted, you have to walk when you're stealthed. You can't run.
Yeah, it would take a while, but
still,
maybe a way to do it. Yeah,
there might be a way to just get past like one mob and then switch back.
Yeah, because I think you can change like you can in an open field situation.
Right. As long as you're not aggroed or anything like that.
Right. Exactly. I don't know, man. I don't like this feeling.
The feeling of that
you should love it. Embrace it.
Uncertainty. See, that's what you don't like about it. It's not the optimism, it's the uncertainty, right? Because if we knew this was going to be good, great, yeah, be all optimistic and happy about it. But you don't want to get your hopes up and then have them dashed again.
Yeah, you've been burned time and time again.
Yeah.
And eventually you're just like, no, I don't like being hurt.
Square-Enix, why you hurt me?
Is your heart okay?
Listen, I don't know if I can fully allow myself to hope that this is going to be really good.
Well, no, of course not. I mean, I'm not getting my hopes up for that.
See, you should do like I did when I went to see the first Tomb Raider movie. Expected utter and complete shit. That way, when it is, no problem. You're not disappointed. But if it happens to be awesome,
it blows your fucking mind.
Then you get to be happy.
Listen, we want to hear from you. Give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you want to call in via Discord. We want to know what your thoughts on Eureka are going to be.
Is it going to be good? Is it okay to hope?
Yeah, are you hopeful that this could possibly be good? Morgan Freeman actually brings up another good point. Will it stay good?
Well, that is almost always the trick with these events. Will it stay relevant?
But I mean, again, this has been in development for so long, and has been pushed back so many times. I would hope that it would be it'd be more fun than queuing for it twice and then feeling like you got the most out of it.
Yeah,
and also with the dynamic nature of it, we don't know what the spawn conditions are going to be. We don't know how long it's going to be to, accomplish objectives and things like that. It seems like they have put more thought into how this will satisfy people long term than maybe they have in the past.
Would you say?
And though I don't want to give a lot of credence to things that they've said without showing action, there was that one line that said, as we add more diadem, that the style of play will change and evolve. That's something that I think we've wanted for FF14 overall.
Right, but what if we love this current playstyle so much that the thing they change it into ends up sucking them? The stay good thing is no longer, it doesn't stay good because they didn't hear the plights of the players.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like, to me, as a layman, that they would. It sounds like from that they're planning on adding more tiers of things to fight.
It does.
It sounds ZNM-esque.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
Because they had clearly they had planned out the tier progression for ZNMs from the word go. That was already done.
Right.
But the way that they had put it out in the TOAU patch updates, we got the first tier, then we got the second tier, then we got the third tier, and it's like the progression made fucking sense.
Do you remember when only the first tier of ZNMs was out and it was worthless because
we thought that's all it was?
Yeah, because we bitched about the rewards. There was like maybe one reward in the whole thing that was even remotely enticing.
Yeah.
And then they came out with the second tier and the second tier rewards, and we went, oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
So this is supposed to be trashed here. And they went, yeah.
Now it makes sense. Here's what I can say about this event. If you should be excited about it, whether it's good or it's bad. They have spent more time on Eureka than I can ever recall them spending on an event, right? Because this has been longer than Diadem 2 now.
Yeah.
So if they can't get this right with all that time, at least it's hopeless. At least you can be 100% certain.
Well, my question, I don't know. My question to you, Escalia, if they get this right, do you come back?
That is a tough question.
Yeah. So that's an even harder question.
It is a very hard question. I mean, what does right mean? If it's an acceptable event in the game, no. If it would have to be something where I could fundamentally switch my playstyle to just focus on this, because the rest of the game doesn't interest me.
Right.
The rest of the game has gotten so bad for so long that I don't care anymore.
Now let's say that you had if the game's requirement was like, okay, listen, there's probably going to be a minimum eye level requirement to go in here. Yeah. And it says, logically, that if you want to participate, then you're going to at least have to do the minimum work and get, your tone gear. You're going to have to grind out your tone gear, right? Yeah. You don't have to raid. You don't have to do anything special. But if you are logging in and you're doing your dailies and that's it, that's pretty much enough in terms of an expectation to participate in the event.
Yeah.
Is that enough to keep you engaged, or is that asking too much?
No. So here's what I would look at that as. I would, first of all, if the event is great, right? It's fun, it's good, and that's what I can focus on is like my enjoyment time for this game.
Yeah.
Sure. And they say you have to do your tome gear to be able to participate. I look at that as the exact same thing as, well, if you want to go do all these events in 11, you have to spend the time to farm gil and buy sneak pots and vis oil, or, pots, oils, and
seems
food.
Like a fair trade.
It's the trade. Like you put in the work to go do the event. Fine. That's fine.
The thing to keep in mind is that right now, and I think the reason that Escalia got burnt out on, even why I've gotten burnt out, and I don't care about doing my tome grind to get my tome gear, is because the reason for doing that is to have it.
There isn't one.
It doesn't equate anything. If I have to do the tome gear to get into and participate in a good Eureka, then I have incentive. Then I have a drive to actually do my tome gear.
If they put an event in this game that is so fun that I consider participation my reward, then they've figured it out finally, because that's something they haven't gotten right now in, I don't know, when was 2.0?
Ever
is the word I'm looking for. Yeah, they've never gotten that right. They've always felt like the carrot at the end of the stick is the piece of gear that you get at the end, and that can be true sometimes. But if the events to do it suck and the gear ends up not mattering, well, that doesn't help you very much. I genuinely enjoyed C progression in 11. I hated Sky, admittedly, but I loved C. I loved Limbus. Those were legitimately fun things to go do.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's talk about the way that gear progression could end up working here.
Sure.
Because what I would think would be a fair trade-off is that at the end of it, if you do all of the stuff and you decide to take the gear from this system and bring it out into the overworld,
you quote unquote clear Eureka.
Right. Like you clear Eureka, you bring your items out. I think that, a fair trade-off would be 5 eye levels above tome gear and 5 eye levels below raid gear. Right. Yeah. And then every time we get an update, it just brings it to that same standard.
That
seems worth it.
If they set it up, like, listen, I will completely understand if they want to stick to the idea of your raid gear will always be your top tier gear. I'm fine with that. And they say this will be better than tome gear and worse than raid gear, and we will keep it at that point. Yeah, that is a worthwhile reward. And again, that it's all is preceded by the event being fun.
Right.
If the event is fun, like Palace of the Dead, the event itself was fun. The reward wasn't always there for it. Sometimes it was,
right,
but not always.
Right.
If the reward had always been there, the event being fun will carry it. And even to this day, even with the reward not being always there, you can always find people to do Palace of the Dead. Yeah. Or at least you could when I was playing.
Yeah, Crimson Tinted says I-365. That does it. That does it for me.
Sure. I mean, and then, like you say, if the requirements to get in are that you've at least done your tome work for that round,
yeah,
I think it's a fair ask.
Kahlo, what about you?
I don't know. Because as soon as you said brought the item level thing back up, it killed it for me again. Because the thing about the item level is once the next patch comes out, well, then it's all irrelevant anyhow. Why go into Eureka and work for that gear that's admittedly better than my tome gear when the next tome gear is going to be better than what comes out of Eureka?
Well, I guess the question really comes down to then how often will we see updates to Eureka?
Yes. Are they going to update?
It would have to be as often as new gear, right?
Yeah.
When the eye level goes up, so
that's every other patch.
So does Eureka.
That's every other patch. No, wait.
I would like to see, and what I think an answer to that would be, is if this upgradable stuff was exactly that. In order to get the next one, so when the next tome gear comes out, and sure, that tome gear is better than the Eureka stuff I have now, but that if I wanted to get the next level of Eureka stuff, I have to have already upgraded the current Eureka stuff and either hand that in or keep upgrading it further. Make it feel like I'm not throwing away what I've invested my time in.
Well, that's almost like, Palace of the Dead with their Pajali and the 2 weapons they had there. You had to have them already and then upgrade it from there.
Right.
And you can make getting the prior stage easier as time goes on.
Right.
And if you can only work on either one type of armor, one type of weapon at a time, it also gives you a reason to be going back.
Right. Well, and I think that, you do need to provide reasons to go back and have people requeue. And even if they've gotten, their reward out of it, to go back after the next update. But here's one of the things that you've got to remember is that, one of our big complaints with Stormblood is that we've now got this patch progression cycle where we get two dungeons and an eye level push. And then the next patch, we get 1 dungeon and we don't get an eye level push.
Right.
Whereas with Heavensward, we were getting an eye level push like almost every, or was it every other?
It was.
I think it was every other.
And then the in between was the one where they would push your tome gear up the next 10 eye levels.
Right. And I think that the way that we've got a spread of eye level choices right now, it feels a little bit more appropriate than it did in Heavensward. Heavensward seemed like things were getting outmodded so quickly, and and maybe this is just because I'm a little less plugged into Stormblood than I was in Heavensward, that it seems like I'm tossing shit out a little less frequently than I was in Heavensward.
You know what? I think that actually I'll give you that, because I felt like sometimes in Heaven's Ward that if I fell a week or two behind, that before I even completed my tome set, I'm going to be throwing it out. And that's now that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if the time between patches is too long, we complain that there's nothing to do, and if they're too short, we're not getting enough time to do what there is. I feel like a hypocrite now.
Well, you should, because you're a fucking idiot, but whatever.
But it is a fine line to walk. But it's the fundamental problem of this system that they've chosen, and it's one that every vertical progression game has to deal with.
Right.
Your only reward is gear, and because you can't swap it, it's one set of gear. It's one best in slot piece.
Right.
So your only option there is to either make it look really cool for glamour purposes. Like if they had done even that way, so you're going to get your tome gear and your raid gear push in the first patch, and in the off patch, you get the upgrade for that tome gear and the ability to customize it is in that patch. Now you can bridge that gap a little bit easier in between your next eye
Isn't that sort of what they're doing? Isn't that kind of the
That's kind of what Eureka would serve to do, right?
Well, but I mean, right now, like when you upgrade tome gear, it becomes dyeable, and yeah. So that's pretty close to what it is at the moment. And now, if the thing is that if they put in, gear that comes out of Eureka at 360. Right. I'm not that, it's a question of whether, does this pair of gloves have more critical hit or direct hit on it than this other set? If you put it at 365,
it's just definitively better.
It is definitively better.
Yeah, and it has to be an actual eye level difference.
Yes.
I need to be able to walk around and say, like, because I've completed Eureka, which I assume won't be an easy thing to do.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right.
This is my nice gear.
Right.
Check it out. I've got sweet dyed AF3 gear that is pimp.
So we get Eureka. Let's say we get the 365 gear, right? Next patch we get the next Rabinasty, right? That's another small eye level bump, and we get the ability to upgrade the tome gear that just came out in this most recent patch.
Right.
That actually feels like a bit more of a native progression and a natural progression, and that 365 stuff is not automatically outmodded as quickly.
Right, like, it's not dumpstered.
Yeah, like it takes a little bit more effort to upgrade the tome gear, and like to Robbie's point, or to Kahlo's point, if you do get a couple of weeks behind in your tome grinding, then, that 365 piece does become a lot more attractive.
Yeah, and I mean, you also, again, have another avenue into raiding. If you don't want to do, your tome grind or Rab Nasty, whatever it happens to be,
or you can outfit yourself faster because you've got, 365 gear coming out of tomes, you've got the ability to upgrade it, and you've got that 365 gear that's coming out of Eureka as well.
Right, yeah.
That can help you fill in some of those holes quicker.
And how about we don't get randomized stats on it this time?
That would be nice.
That was
the worst part about, I think.
Yeah, that was horrible.
I would assume with the whole, or I'm hoping, sorry, I shouldn't assume, but I'm hoping with the whole upgrading thing that there is a certain aspect of we also get to decide what type of stats is going.
I don't know. That's asking for a lot.
I mean, there was always that point, at least in the relic weapon line,
right, where you could decide your stats.
Yeah.
I think that'd be actually a very cool idea for Eureka. Or also if something that you did with the elemental wheel played into how your gear scaled up.
Interesting. See, I actually like the idea of being able to customize your gear, but through things that you have to earn through the system, the Eureka system, right? Like if there's, we're using Magicite, and I mean, to your point, you can you could either use that on your elemental wheel to help in the fights, or you could apply that to
your armor weapon.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea.
I think that would be a cool way to go about it. You'd get a lot of people who are just like throwing it on their weapon and ignoring, like making themselves like actually stronger in the fight. But if you could find a well,
then you're going to lose. Then your party's going to lose.
What if
a lot?
If each of the elements is tied to a different stat.
There you go.
Now when you fight someone, I'm pumped up on thunder, but that translates into dexterity. I don't need dexterity. I need fire for strength.
Right. Interesting.
Oh no, I got to fight a water boss, but I don't need lightning. I don't need dexterity. I got to fight with fire, so now I'm weakened.
We want to hear from you. What are some of your ideas for what could be coming with Eureka? What would you like to see? Give us a call. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, or limitbreakradio.com/Discord to give us a call over Discord. I think that there's I am more optimistic for this than I ever was for Diadem.
Oh, Diadem. Yeah. Diadem was such a kick in the balls.
It really was. It was a letdown. It was a letdown in every sense of the word.
Diadem 1 was a kick in the balls. Diadem 2 was a kick in the balls that you were at least braced for.
Yeah.
You were ready. Like, you're like, all right, do it.
Yeah, well, that's probably fair. It's actually interesting, too, because I don't remember with Diadem 1 or 2 them really showing us much of it before it came out.
Almost none of it, really.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But the whole thing with Diadem 2 was like they had that overarching theme of like this exploration and like we want you to be discovering it as it comes into existence.
Sure.
And yes, I get that, except that only works when what people find isn't a turd.
Right. Well, and I think that they had a real problem by designing the zone in the way that they did because you had to include flying. And I understand that, they were really hyped on flying because of Heaven's
whole thing was flying. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that. I understand that. But there was also that problem where the minute that you introduced flying, aggro ceased to be a problem at all.
Because there's no flying mobs.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think in that regard, there was definitely some, some overlooked problems that they could have avoided in this.
I would have liked, because flying is really a good thing, right? Like, it does make you feel more involved in the world, but you can't do it if you don't put flying enemies in. There has to be dangers to flying.
Exactly.
Well, it can't be otherwise it completely negates everything else about the zone. Like essentially, because it is still a game. No matter where you go, you're still playing a game. Right. And when you have flying, the gameplay of any zone is holding W in space. Can I just say that I think the thing that excites me the most about this is that it's not clearly from the space that Eureka inhabits is not clearly Alamegan or Doman.
I'm not sure where this is.
Yeah, I don't know where this takes place. And I kind of like that.
When I looked at the architecture, I'm like, this reminds me of Vana'diel. To me, it had that kind of. Maybe it's just because it's so thrown together.
I really want. I'm curious where on the overworld this is supposed to be.
Remember, this is still a theme park MMO, so maybe this is their callback to FF11.
Yeah, this is gonna be Vana'diel land.
This is their FF11 ride.
I'll tell you what. If it was, I would come back for it.
Jeez, of
course. I hate that I would, but I would. I would have to come back, and just because, the hope of getting a little extra FF11 lore out of it, I would.
Well, no, I think the reason that I bring that up is because, again, as we said with Diadem, they had built in flying as a core part of how you get around on that zone.
Right.
There's no swimming in this that I see. So.
I didn't see any swimming.
I would assume not.
Yeah, you're right. No, this looks very 2.0-esque.
Although, what would be cool is if there was maybe a body of water that you could jump into, swim to the bottom of, and then that's the tunnel to get to another section of the map. That's a cool way of doing swimming.
Cool.
Because you don't immediately think about that. In the locks, right? That part where they have you, it's like a small body of water. You go down, and then it's like this bigger section that opens up.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see something like that in here. A clever way of using swimming that's not just like, oh, we're going to show off swimming now.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean. Yeah. And then you get down there, and Nigel Lyle's just down there, and you're like, what?
Whoa, that's crazy. Let's go to our phone lines and talk to Abel Sunreaver of Phoenix. What's going on, Abel?
Hey, well, nothing much. I just did my leveling queue for the day. Yeah, I just wanted to just say that I've been a long-time listener, and it's good to speak to you. I've been speaking to Juxta a bit, like 10 years ago or something.
Sorry.
I'm very sorry for that.
Yeah,
we try not to let him talk to people.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, why would you be sorry? He's like the coolest guy ever. Oh my god.
No, you don't have to. He's not here. You don't have to lie. It's okay.
Juxta, is that you?
I'm not lying.
Juxtaposition.
Yeah, I like
not juxtaposing.
Well, I really wanted to speak about like Diadem and what it seems to be like Eureka is going to be like Diadem 3.0, but like I haven't really looked into it that much, but I would expect something with more longevity than what we have today, because it's like you said, it's patch after patch, and I would really like it to be more of well, how would I say, like well, Final Fantasy 11 style, like you have gear that could keep on for years, essentially, right? Your defending ring is relevant today, right?
Yeah.
Yep. 10% damage down.
Yeah. So something like that would be appreciated, actually. Like let's say we would much like the relic gear, we would upgrade it after each patch. So we would have longevity that way, and have like an event that we could do every patch, because I mean every guy isn't, or girl, sorry, isn't going to be able to do raids and shit. Sorry for swearing, by the way.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, you don't have to apologize for swearing. I thought you've listened to this program before.
No, so here's the thing.
I have. I'm Swedish, dude. I have to be nice. I'm like
it's like built into their DNA.
Oh, fair enough.
All right.
It's like European Canadian, all right?
To your point, caller.
European Canadian.
About defending
I love that he has
ring.
enough frame of reference to make that joke.
Yeah.
So about defending ring, I think a piece of gear that you could keep forever and just upgrade constantly every patch would be an awesome idea, particularly on the ring where you have to deal with that stupid bullshit of not being able to have two of the same ring.
That's a great point.
Yes.
That would be an outstanding addition to this game.
That's actually a really, really good point.
But guys, when I start playing in 5.0, that means I have to go all the way back and start it from the upgrade process back in the beginning.
But I
Why? Why do you have to do that?
But 11 had a scaling ring, the Rajas ring. And it was, fucking relevant all the way to the end. And you got that for completing COP, which was very difficult and took a really long time.
And literally, Raja's ring only within the last year has that become irrelevant.
And here's the thing, is that it's a reward like that something like Savage Raiding is missing.
Oh god.
Where you're like, oh, that's a long-term reward that I can use forever. And you don't have, and you don't have to put tons of them out there. It can be one piece of gear. It can be a ring.
Well, yeah, straight up, like they could just do okay, there's gonna be 12 floors. Guess what? This ring upgrades 12 times, and each time you clear a Savage floor, it goes up.
There you go.
And it will last you the entire expansion.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why,
idea.
Square-Enix, why is it that a podcast that are mostly filled with assholes has to come up with ideas like this?
Mostly. Oh, Nika, yeah, I guess you're not an asshole.
Thank you.
I didn't mean that as a compliment.
Okay.
I know.
Anyway, Abel, thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you.
Oh, thanks, and I'll keep listening.
No,
do that.
No,
yeah,
you keep listening.
I will. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thanks, Abel. We appreciate it. If you want to give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715. LimitBreakRadio.com/Discord. Would really like to hear from you about your opinions on Eureka. We've waited so long to get any information about this system, and I can't believe that there aren't more people that are chomping at the bit to call in and express their opinions about this brand new system.
You know what the problem is?
What?
The problem is that, again, there's some optimism. People call them when they get mad, not when there's optimism.
It's true.
People are like, ooh, this could be good, but I don't want to go on record saying I think it will be. Call your shot now. If you think this is going to be good,
coward.
Leave your name and call your shot now.
That's right.
So that we can make fun of you if you're wrong.
Make it a matter of public record. I mean, right. we gotta do that every fucking week with this show. You could do it once in your life.
They don't actually even have to give us their real name. Call and give us a fake name if you're so afraid.
Yeah, call and say you're Juxta. We'll believe you because we get to make fun of him more.
That's right. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Giga Pantsu of Excalibur. What's going on, Giga?
Hey, not much. How are you guys doing?
Good. What's happening?
Good.
There was a topic in the chat earlier I wanted to bring to you guys about the timer, and I don't know the technical side of it, but it's 2018 and having instance server issues to needing a timer on everything seems kind of pointless. And with Eureka still having a timer, like this mode, which is supposed to be touted on its exploration and discovery and farming stuff, and then just to slap a timer on it, even if it is 3 hours, kind of pulls you out of it. I don't know. It just feels really bad.
I think typically when you get things like this, it's them trying to avoid everyone and their mother going in there and AFKing in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's usually
100%.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it is what I was hoping Diadem was originally, that there are so many different things to do inside that you have to choose how to use your time wisely. Like, do you decide to farm in this area, or do you decide to go after this NM, or do you decide,
right.
So that way you have to figure out what you would like to do each time you go in, or you can't just do it all.
And here's the thing. Getting rid of an instance timer means that it has to be a persistent zone,
right?
Which means that you have to put other things on a timer. You have to put, when certain things will spawn and when they won't on a world timer or a larger timer. And so I think that, if Square Enix wanted to add a persistent zone, an endgame zone into the game, that they could do that,
and we would be in support of it,
and it wouldn't be the worst thing. They've done it before. That's what Sea and Sky were in FF11.
Yeah, it can be done.
I think that, doing the instanced way and doing it with a timer serves to Nika's point, where you actually have to make decisions about how you're going to be spending your time, and you end up disrupting, and not completely avoiding, but disrupting things like AFK claimers or botters or things like that, and that used to be a very big problem in overworld zones in games like FF11.
And think about Abyssia. You did have a timer in there. You were just able to do things to extend that timer infinitely if you want, but you had to put the work into that. You had to have your your Azure Light built up, and you had to get the time boxes if you wanted to keep extending yourself.
Right, and you couldn't extend your time to a point where you could comfortably AFK.
No, at most you were always 2 hours. I want to say was your absolute max,
right?
Or 90 minutes. It might have just been 90 minutes actually.
So I don't remember, but I do think that that's a really good point. That and again, to Nika's point, it avoids congestion. If you put out a new zone and say, oh, this is our new endgame zone, everyone's going to flock and flood there, and you're going to have... Dude, do you remember how people used to AFK up in Sky?
Oh, everywhere.
This also is more in line with the type of play sessions that Square Enix has always encouraged, right? If it's in just a new zone, as Nero said, everything else has to be set on timers. So do you log in and, oh crap, I just missed the one NM that I want. Now I have to wait, 5 hours, wait again till tomorrow.
Right.
Whereas when it's a 3 hour instance, every time you go in, it's been reset, and now you have a chance, if that's what you want to try and focus on getting, to then go after.
Right. And so I do think that this would lend itself nicely to having some sort of cost of entry. Rather than just, you can queue up and go in. That's what when you really start to get what Nika was alluding to, this element of choice. Because if the only choice is like, oh, what am I going to get this time, as opposed to what am I spending my money to try to go get? I think that's where you would actually get a lot more intrigue.
Well, like how it cost 1 million gil to enter Dynamis every time.
Right. And yeah, exactly. It cost someone 1 million gil to enter, and they had to make that decision when they entered. Is this a farming run? Is this a AF run? Is this a clear run?
Pieces.
Yeah, exactly. You had to make that decision, and the cost of that decision was 1 million gil. Now in 14, that might not be such a big deal, but there are things you could put as that cost. What if the cost to enter this zone was 50 of your tome?
Well, and I think Satori brings up a really good point in the chat. Also, so we can do stuff cross server. That's, I mean, you know, you want to point. You want to, yeah, you want to talk. You want to talk about how many problems having cross server access solves. You can't have that unless your game is, your game is sectioned off by instances. And yeah, like I think that's a very, very fair point, a fair and valid point. You don't want these gigantic endgame zones to be empty, because if it's server specific, then yeah, no one's going to be in there.
Go into Sky today. Tell me how that is.
Right.
It's empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, unless your name is WoW, though, that's not an issue.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know how long Sky wasn't empty? Like
that's true.
10 years.
I mean, that's fair. Like, Sky stayed relevant a long time. Did they get their money's worth on those design dollars? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Giga, thanks for the call. We appreciate hearing from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Do you have some thoughts on Eureka that you want to share? If we have a couple more calls, we'll extend the running time of Limit Break Radio by a little bit, but not by much. By the way, coming up next on the stream on the twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, we'll have our weekly re-air of Checkpoint Radio. Stick around, because we've got some fun discussions going down on the show today, including a conversation with Dr. Matthew Thompson of the University of Michigan, talking about video game music and the incredibly cool class that he teaches on video game music at the University of Michigan. So
how cool is that?
Yeah, it is.
It's a great, like, Nika, if you haven't gotten to hear this one yet, it's so good.
It's a really good conversation. That's all coming up this week on Checkpoint Radio. Stick around. You can catch that right after Limit Break Radio live here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, or visit our Mixcloud, mixcloud.com/Checkpoint Radio on Tuesdays, when we upload on-demand versions of the show. It's weird. We have not ended a show with optimism in a long time.
We have to think of something bad to say, guys. What's something bad we could say?
Yeah, this is not
game.
Yeah, this is not what I was anticipating when I was coming back for a week. Like, I was expecting to kind of pick up where we left off.
February Fools. None of it's true.
So yeah, this is strange. There is a degree of optimism in the room. Even me, like, I'll tell you what, I'm not. They have to prove it to me before I come back, but you better believe I'll be keeping my eye on it.
Interesting.
That said, when I did uninstall the game, I did so one day before my sub was set to renew for 6 more months. Whew, dodged a bullet on that one. That would have sucked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I do the monthly.
Oh, do you?
I do this. I do the 6 months or whatever. No, but because I'm not going anywhere. Let's be real. But
let's be real.
I do, but I do know that, like, Surin, he hasn't even played since the new patch dropped, and he's waiting for Eureka to decide if he's going to play or not. So
it does feel like a make or break event.
It sort of does, doesn't it?
It's like this. There is no, like, even with Diadem 2, we'd already heard like a rumbling of Eureka. It was like, oh, this is gonna be the next big thing.
Yeah.
This one is it. Like, if Eureka flops, they're not going to be able to come out and say, check out this event we got coming on the horizon. Everyone's gonna be like,
yeah,
no, fuck you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No one's gonna believe you can do it. So this is it.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. It is definitely make or break time. But listen, thank you guys for checking out Limit Break Radio for today. I want to thank our callers, Abel and Gigapantsu. It was nice hearing from you guys. If you want to call in next week, I'm sure that we're still going to be talking about this. Go ahead and add Limit Break Radio on Skype. Put it in your phone, 810-515-8715. And feel free to join our Discord anytime. Chat along with us. That's limitbreakradio.com/Discord. So does this mean you're going to be coming back next week, Cascalia, or no? No,
maybe.
Oh,
I don't know. What are we doing next week?
I don't know.
Oh,
maybe play some improv games. I have no idea.
Possibly.
Surprise.
We'll figure it out. talk about it on Wednesday at Checkpoint.
We'll see, guys. Anyway, yeah, because that was our plan for today, and then
well, the weather made it would have been hard to do improv with 2 people in studio.
Yeah.
That would have been tough.
Snow Beelzebub decided to have something to say about that.
If we did it next week, we would have Chris, me, Robbie, and you all in studio.
And no Nika to drag down the comedy.
Yeah,
she hates doing improv anyway.
But if anyone's going to be at Katsucon, come say hi.
Shut up.
I don't think anyone's going to be at Katsucon.
I'm sure people will be. I met up with people at MacFest, and I'm sure that the same type of people will be at Katsucon.
I'm going to Katsucon.
Are you?
No.
Okay.
I was gonna say, no, you're not. Don't lie to me.
Anyway, if you're going to be out at Katsucon, make sure to poke Nika on social media. Let her know that you're going to be there.
Poke her metaphorically.
Yes,
please.
Metaphorically, and let her know that you're going to be there. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for Limit Break Radio this week. Escali, it was nice having you back.
It was good to be here. Actually,
yeah,
I actually really enjoyed it. It was more optimism, like you say, than I expected.
Right.
I expected to come back and be like, oh, gloom and doom. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It was a little less funeral dirgy this week than it has been in previous weeks, I gotta say.
I see some of the Twitter commentary on the show these days, and it's like, ugh. Seems a little depressing.
Pretty grim.
A little dark.
It's been pretty fucking grim, to be honest with you. And the thing is that, you know, one of the comments that I had seen, at least on Twitter this past week, was like someone who was just flat out frustrated being in the second week of a patch and being sick of it already.
Oh.
And they're like, I can't, like, why does Square-Enix charge for monthly subs? They should just charge for weekly subs because I'm done with it after the first week. And I'm like, fuck, that's a great point.
We are right there with you.
Yeah.
And like, you're frustrated at being sick of it a week after the patch. Welcome to us since 3.3.
That's exactly what we've been saying. That's exactly what we've been saying is the problem. But I think a system like this is really interesting. Now, the other thing that I hope that Square-Enix does, and this is the last thing that I'm going to say about Eureka today, is I hope that with the patch notes, they don't give us step-by-step directions on how to pop each goddamn notorious monster.
They won't. There's
just
no way.
leave us in the dark. Let us figure it out, and you know what? Make some of those spawn conditions really ridiculous. So it takes us a couple of months to
so
figure
that we spawn something once and have no idea how the fuck we got it, and we couldn't get it to appear again.
Yes, I want an enemy to pop and be like, now how did that happen?
And then we can't even figure it out.
But I mean, like, eventually you end up figuring it out.
Eventually, but I don't want it to be something where like, oh, I know how I spawned that. Like, we have to actually figure it out.
Yeah. Leave it up to the community. Don't just give us all the answers. I mean, you had it right with Absolute Virtue back in the day. Just buttoning your lip and saying nothing. And you can do that again, and you can pull it off, and it would be pretty advantageous, I think, to this system.
Is this enemy just invincible? Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
Well, that's...
I don't know.
That's not the same thing as saying yes. Is it? You should fight him more. Is this like when what's-his-face said the best item in Dark Souls is the pendant? What? Maybe. I don't know. You should get the pendant.
It's crazy. Have you tried swimming to the bottom of the lake and trying to, put the pendant? I don't know.
If you get the pendant, you can probably beat Absolute Virtue. That's a different game.
Tough. It's crazy.
Seems rough.
I mean, just try and figure it out.
Anyway, all right, that's going to do it here for Limit Break Radio. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Again, I want to thank our callers. And, of course, I want to thank my crew, Escalia, for returning today, as well as Nika and Kahlo for being here via Zoom. I'm Aniro. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Kyle Landis, Juxtaposition, and Escalia Ryumasa, and Kuki Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzi are trademarks of Square-Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Nexian Theta, Hirsch First, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music from Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.